Morning. Gotta love that first sip of coffee. Happy Thursday. Today is December 3rd. I can't believe it's December 3rd already, heading into the holidays. The weather's cooling off. Got the flannel weather, beanie weather. And last episode we covered handlebars. We went through the 3E handlebars. We're going to keep it going with handlebars. I'm going to show the fabrication of the Easy Rider handlebars. Very similar concept, just different handlebars. Before we do, a few episodes ago I came up with a dropout design for non-extended forks for people who want the classic just tucked short fork tubes. And with that design, that had its limitations because all of the peak cycle forks run the axle in front of the fork tube, this direction. So in order to run a short version, we had to run a larger rotor in order for everything to meet and get enough bite on the brake pad, the rotor, etc. So what I've done is I designed another dropout which mounts from the underside of the fork tube, and what that does is it pulls everything in. With the last design, like I said, we were limited to a 203 millimeter rotor. With this, you can use the standard 180 millimeter rotor. I did not invent this design. This has been used commonly with triple tree forks in the past, but I did have to come up with a design that's going to work with peak cycle forks, and that's what we did and what we're going to go through today. So let's go ahead and hit the shop and see what's happening with peak cycles. And here we are getting ready to hand cut a new dropout for the peak cycles forks. We already have one version of the non-extended dropouts, and we were limited to a 203 millimeter rotor. With this particular dropout, we will be running a 180 millimeter rotor and the axle mount from the underside. And so here we have a rough Sharpie pen CAD drawing. And I've mentioned this in past videos that when you want to get that nice circular cut right there, that I just use a hole saw. Set it right there, cut it through, and then just cut around it. So let's go ahead and hit the drill press, keep it going. Are you ready? Here we're getting ready to drill out the new dropout, and I have an existing dropout sitting here on top, already set up for a caliper, so we're going to use it as a template. We know we're already lined up. Let's go ahead and start drilling. Don't you just love when these test runs work out perfectly the first time? Well, in this case it didn't. Wah, wah, wah. Basically, we're not getting enough brake pad on the rotor here. I know it looks pretty good from here, but trust me, it could use some more. So what we're going to do is cut another one. I'm going to move the holes for the caliper forward, and that'll push the brake pad up against the rotor. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with this. Okay, I treated a bit. I didn't cut new dropouts. I basically just squeezed in new holes there. You can see there's a little gap, no big deal. But now, got plenty of brake pad. Looking good. Gonna pull this off, send it out to Gearhead John, and start getting these cut. There you go. Sent that design out to Gearhead John. He's going to have those CNC cut for me, and Peak Cycles will be able to start offering those going forward. When I mentioned that I had to come up with a design that works for Peak Cycle forks, you ask yourself, well, what's different? And Peak Cycle forks are set up for wide hubs. You can run up to 4-inch wide wheels with the Peak Cycle. They're wider trees. And so with standard 100 millimeter hubs, the dropout runs on the inside of the fork tube. You run a wide hub, it's recessed. So in this case, you can see here it's cut. This is recessed for a wide hub. If you run standard and you run to the inside, what I've done is I've had two different options for this dropout to where now this line will run straight through. This is a solid plate dropout for 100 millimeter, and then you weld it to the inside of the fork. That's basically it. And then of course I did change the shape and design so that it's not like an exact copy, but that's pretty much in a nutshell what I had to do to make it work. Moving on to handlebars, let's go ahead and hit the shop and keep it going. Getting ready to fabricate an Easy Rider handlebar, 16 inches tall. Those are the bar ends and the base there. Got the upright rolled single piece. We're going to cut this in half and let's hit it. Upright's cut, and we've got the base squared up. I pulled the base in just a little bit to emphasize the shape and style of this handlebar, the way it swoops out right there. Next up, we're going to miter the base mount there and the uprights. I watched you change into a flag. I looked away. Base mount all mitered up, along with the upright. Everything nice and tight. Looking good upstairs. Keep it moving. When I was bending the bar end for the Easy Rider there, I went ahead and bent all the sticks for the next handlebar that's up on deck. The Twin Peaks are actually the Evil Twin, which that's the base there. Just killing two birds with one stone, so let's get back at it. Right out of wire. Back in business. Last episode, somebody commented on my grinding and was asking how I'm able to grind without pulling off too much weld or leaving too much on. And so this next segment is a time-lapse video of me grinding. It is uncut. And later in the video, I'll touch on a few things that may aid in helping you with your technique in grinding. Let's keep it going. Just like the previous episode, I tack one side and I rest the tape up against the bar in there. Check where we're at 14¼ inches, and I set the tape exactly in the same spot on the other side so I know we're square. And again, if my miters are on, I should be able to rest this up against each other with no play or wiggle room, and it falls right where we want it. Boom. Let's go ahead and weld this up. On to the final stages of that handlebar, and I'm going to share with you another time-lapse video of me grinding the tops of that handlebar. Grinding the top is not the same as grinding the base. And again, this is uncut. I will then pop in and share with you a couple techniques that I use when I approach grinding. Keep it going. There you go. Look back at that video, I know it's going fast, but here are a couple things that I do when I approach grinding. One is I knock off all the big stuff first. I'm not trying to do a finished grind on each area as I'm working on it. Knock off all the big stuff. I usually start from the inside of the miter and I work my way out, and then I go around each miter, flip it, and go in an orderly fashion. Once I've knocked all the big stuff off, I go back and do a finished grind, which here's where I'm going to go with this. Don't lay into the grinder. Don't push into it. You don't need to. The grinder is pretty heavy, and your movement alone is just about enough to give that nice finished look. You push too hard, that's when you get those grinding lines in there, and sometimes you bite off too much, and then, turns into a mess. So that's pretty much it. There's no big secret. You just got to keep doing it, and you will get better. Let's go ahead and move on to the finished product. Inch Easy Rider handlebars, and those are available. Do fabricate to order. If you like what you see, hit me up. Going to touch on one last thing before we sign off here. As I did mention a moment ago that the Peak Cycle forks are designed for 4-inch wide rims or hoops, and I didn't want to mislead anyone that they are designed to accept either or. You can run 3-inch or 4-inch, just a matter of where we set the dropout spacing. That's pretty much gonna wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed today's version of what's happening with Peak Cycles. And until next time, make it a killer day! Set that design out to Gearhead John, and now he's having those CNC cut to where Peak Cycles can start offering those going forward. With that said, and I said that, well, not with that said and I said that, back in business. Before we move, whoa, what was that? This chair sinking on me? Okay, where are we? So there you have it. This stool is sinking. I've been pushing it back up every time. There you go. 16-inch Easy Rider handlebars. They are available. If you like what you see, hit me up. I fabricate to order, hit me up. Damn it. There you go. 16-inch handlebar. 16-inch 16-inch. 16-inch. God, I can't even say 16-inch. 16-inch Easy. One more time. 16 inch. Oh my God.